So here we are, Saturday, March 6th, up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We're here with some local organizations on a walking tour about gentrification in Santa Fe. Some really powerful speakers, some really powerful testimony. People are out here sharing their heart and their experiences.
Hope everybody can still hear me. If you can't, just let me know. I'm going to be holding this piece of paper. I can't really hold the bullhorn, but it's going to be super brief. So, my name's Hernan. I'm the artist who placed the billboard outside of the museum back in February of last year. I was born and raised here in Santa Fe. My family's from Mexico. We love this town because it's our home. I love New Mexico. Every time I leave this place, I feel like I've left a part of myself behind. My family lives on the south side. I live on the south side. I know how divided this town is along racial and class lines. This is something I assume most of you here already know. The cost of living here in Santa Fe compared to Albuquerque is over 50% higher in some areas. It's difficult to live in Santa Fe. It's expensive, and wages oftentimes are barely enough to pay rent. I grew up at the end of Airport Road by Highway 599. Compared to the downtown area, the south side has grown, but has not seen long-term investment in infrastructure. We have very few parks, trails, open spaces, or even sidewalks. I remember where I grew up, we weren't even able to access internet because those services weren't available until 4 years ago. The people I see as the lifeblood of our city, working gente from the south side, are also some of the most vulnerable in our community. The people who live along the airport corridor are diverse. It's not only immigrant families, but people who've called this area home for generations. As someone who worked at the lab, I also know that many people who have moved to New Mexico from out of state live on the south side and commute to Los Alamos. The complex layout of the resident areas on the south side shows this mix of income disparities in that part of town. The predominantly immigrant communities make up a majority of the people who live in the large trailer parks there. There are even gated communities close to 599. And along with this, we have homes that have been built in the last 10 years, making some of the only affordable homes in our city. I'm speaking from my lived experience. My family is working class. We live in trailer parks. We make up the people who clean homes and build houses for wealthy white people who come from out of state and only live here seasonally. The one sector that has seen continual growth throughout the pandemic is construction. Although I'm grateful to still be working in this sector shows a stark reality that is often unnoticed. The people who live here, who work here, and who maintain our city are not living sustainably because these wealthy people and our city government is not investing in us. While wealthy people from out of state have been building gargantuan million-dollar estates because I've been helping to build these homes, I know, we have families with like 5 or more people living in trailers on the south side struggling to make ends meet. That's not right. That's not okay. It's not new. Redlining happened in cities all over our country. If we talk to the viejitos or gente who were here in the 70s, we can dissect where these problems come from. It's not only about divestment in our community, but about them protecting a system that upholds power in the hands of the rich. Families were pushed out of the Canyon Road area when outside investment made property taxes skyrocket and forced people who've been living there for generations outward. This is where our issues stem from. Systemic oppression and racism are at the root of these problems. When we talk about who belongs here, who gets to decide the future of this place, too often we focus on notions of heritage and history, when instead we should realize that we all have coexisted in this area and traversed back and forth for hundreds, if not thousands of years. That is why it's extremely important to recognize why this mural matters. It's not just a painting, it's not just a symbol of the complicated, violent, and beautifully rich history of New Mexico, but it shows us that the state is denying us something they have for decades, our voice. Public money is going into this project and their new museum, but we have a say in this. We belong, we exist. We matter. We are not against people from outside moving in, but for people with wealth and privilege, you must recognize that you have a responsibility to this land and to the community. For Bob Hernan! We have come to this point under the water tower, and I want to tell you about a group which I have the pleasure of working for. I am on the intake team for Santa Fe Mutual Aid. Been involved with the network since November of last year. After everything we've spoken about and what you've heard, it's incredibly important that we take notice about why mutual aid efforts in our city, state, and country are so important. The aim of mutual aid is to do just that, provide mutual support for one another. We're in times of crisis, and the already existing inequities in our city have only become more apparent during the pandemic. The stories of the people I have spoken to have really shown me how disparity plagues our town, that the only way we can ensure that we don't hit a severe point of no return is to recognize the reality of our situation and the humanity and empathy required for us to move forward together. We have to help one another and reimagine the systems which got us to this point. If you have any questions about how you can get involved with mutual aid, come talk to me after the action, because there's a lot of hands that's struggling right now and we need to help them out. But thanks.